Look at this shaky old fool, Tank laughs, ripping the wooden cane from weathered hands. Can't even stand up straight. The 82-year-old black veteran stumbles, falls hard on marble steps at the memorial. Tank's boots kick the cane across stone. The other two white men join in. They shove Colonel James Washington again. He tries to rise. His hands shake. Not from age, from rage he cannot express. Families watch from nearby benches. Children point. Parents pull them away. Nobody helps. A security guard approaches, stops 10 feet back, crosses his arms instead of intervening. Jimmy's daughter Sarah rushes forward, then freezes when Tank turns his cold stare on her. The old man's eyes flash clear for just 1 second. Something metal glints inside his torn coat pocket. Sarah steps forward, then stops cold. Sarah Washington hesitates. Her father lies crumpled on cold marble. But Tank's eyes promise violence if she interferes. "Stay back, lady," Tank warns. "Your crazy old man needs to learn some respect," Jimmy mutters under his breath. Words tumble out broken, fragmented. "Squadron leader down. Enemy at 12 o'clock. Formation flying compromised." Sarah's face burns with shame. Other families stare, whisper behind hands, judge her for bringing him here. "He's getting worse," she tells her sister quietly. "The episodes are more frequent. People are starting to notice. Maybe it's time we looked into facilities. Somewhere safe." Young Park Ranger Maya approaches slowly. She wears the green uniform with pride, served 2 tours herself in Afghanistan. Something about Jimmy's terminology catches her attention. Not random babbling, precise military language. Combat terminology she recognizes. "Sir," Maya says gently, kneeling beside him. "Are you all right? Can you tell me your name?" Jimmy looks up through clouded eyes. His confusion clears slightly when he hears her respectful tone. For a moment, his posture straightens. Shoulders back, chin up, perfect military bearing despite his frail appearance. Then the fog returns. He blinks rapidly, lost again. Tank notices Maya's ranger badge, decides to play victim instead. "This old guy's been harassing people all morning, yelling crazy stuff, probably dangerous. You should do something before he hurts someone." Maya studies Jimmy's weathered face carefully. Something doesn't add up here. The precise way he holds his left hand, the automatic response to authority in her voice, the specific military phrases that aren't random at all. She pulls out her radio to call for backup, then hesitates. Tank kicks carelessly at Jimmy's scattered belongings. A worn leather wallet falls open. Reading glasses with government frames. Something else wrapped carefully in faded cloth. Metal edges show through tears. "Probably stolen goods," Tank smirks, reaching down. "These homeless guys will take anything they can get their hands on." Jimmy's hand reaches toward his belongings. Movement suddenly precise, coordinated. No tremor now. Deliberate and controlled. Maya notices the change immediately. Jimmy's confusion clears when he hears formation flying. The ceremony music starts nearby. A flag passes in formation. Jimmy's body responds instantly. Straight spine. Proper salute. Textbook military precision that takes decades to develop. Tank notices something that makes his smirk fade. Tank grows bolder. Grabs Jimmy's belongings and dumps them across the marble. Personal items scatter. A small American flag. Prescription bottles. Something that clinks like metal. "Look at this junk," Tank announces to his crew. "Old man's living in fantasy land." He picks up what looks like costume jewelry. Tarnished metals on faded ribbons. A bronze star catches sunlight. Purple fabric with small metal bars. "Fake military stuff," Tank laughs. "Probably bought these at a pawn shop. Playing dress-up soldier." Jimmy's entire body changes. The confusion vanishes. Strength flows back into weathered limbs. He reaches slowly into his coat pocket. His fingers find something else. Something Tank missed. a small leather pouch wrapped carefully in cloth. He pulls out a single medal, different from the others, heavier. The Congressional Gold Medal catches sunlight like fire. March 15th, 1944, Jimmy says clearly, his voice cutting through their laughter. Berlin escort mission. I shot down Hauptmann Hans Müller, Nazi ace with 37 kills. Tank's laughter dies. The medal in Jimmy's weathered hands looks nothing like costume jewelry. Muller's Messerschmitt went down in flames over Brandenburg, Jimmy continues, his eyes growing clearer with each word. He was hunting a damaged B-17 bomber, 22-year-old tail gunner bleeding out, kid from Ohio named Tommy Morrison. Tank steps backward involuntarily. The specific details, the absolute certainty in Jimmy's voice. I put 3 rounds through Muller's cockpit at point-blank range, Jimmy says, standing straighter now. Saved that bomber crew. Tommy Morrison lived to see his son born. Sarah moves closer, watching her father transform before her eyes. This isn't the confused man she brought here. This is someone else entirely, someone with authority she's never seen. Those are mine, Jimmy says, pointing to the scattered medals with steady hands. His voice carries command presence that cuts through mockery like a blade. Tank jerks the stolen medals closer to his chest. Sure they are, old man. And I'm George Washington. But his crew isn't laughing anymore. One of them still films with his phone, but uncertainty creeps into their expressions. This is going viral, he says weakly. Crazy homeless vet thinks he's a war hero. Jimmy looks directly at the camera. I am a war hero. Tuskegee Airmen, 332nd Fighter Group, Red Tails. And these medals represent 73 American lives I brought home alive. The filming stops. That's not delusional rambling. That's documented history spoken with absolute conviction. Sarah stares at the Congressional Gold Medal in her father's hands. Heavy gold, official engravings, government seals. Nothing like costume jewelry. Dad, is this real? Real as the blood I shed earning it, Jimmy replies, his posture now perfectly military despite his age. The security guard approaches, but something's changed. The dynamic has shifted. Jimmy no longer appears to be the aggressor. Tank and his crew look like the criminals they actually are. But the system still fails. Instead of confronting the obvious thieves, the guard addresses Sarah. Ma'am, your father is causing a disturbance. Other families are complaining. He's the victim here, Sarah protests, finally understanding what she's witnessing. These men attacked him first, stole his belongings. Maya steps forward, having heard enough. I can confirm that. I witnessed the entire assault. The guard shrugs dismissively. I see an agitated elderly man disrupting a memorial service. Maybe it's best if he leaves. Sarah's shame battles with growing realization. Other parents gather their children, point and whisper, judge her family situation while ignoring obvious criminal behavior. But Jimmy takes control completely. Sarah Elizabeth Washington, he says with paternal authority she hasn't heard in years. Born June 3rd, 1972, 6 pounds, 4 ounces. Your mother held you while I read congratulations telegrams from my squadron. Perfect recall, specific details, complete cognitive clarity when treated with respect. Tank overhears. But now he's not smelling opportunity. He's feeling something else. Fear. The old man's transformation from confused victim to authoritative military leader unsettles him completely. Yeah, definitely dangerous, Tank says, but his voice carries no conviction now. Look how intense he got over those medals. Should probably be locked up. Jimmy processes their words while still holding the Congressional Gold Medal. His family considered him incompetent. Strangers mocked his service, but he's not helpless, never was. Sarah Elizabeth, he says to his daughter, his voice carrying dignity that demands respect. These medals aren't fake. This one came from Congress itself, for saving 73 American aircrew members over Nazi Germany. Sarah looks between the medal and her father's face, the clarity in his eyes, the precision in his words, the military bearing she never understood before. "Why didn't you ever tell us?" she whispers. "Because in 1945, black heroes weren't welcome," Jimmy replies. "We saved white lives, then came home to segregation and silence. Your mother thought it was better to build new futures than fight old battles." The ceremony continues around them. Military honor guard marches past. Their boots strike stone in perfect rhythm. Jimmy's body responds instinctively to the sound. Despite everything, he attempts to stand at attention. Old habits from muscle memory stronger than confusion or humiliation. Perfect military courtesy that takes decades to develop. Maya sees it. The automatic response to military protocol, the way he holds his salute despite trembling hands. This isn't performance. This is ingrained training from authentic service. She pulls out her phone discreetly, starts photographing Jimmy's belongings before they disappear. The scattered medals, the prescription bottles with VA labels, government-issued glasses. Tank notices her camera. "Hey, what are you doing?" "Documenting evidence," Maya replies calmly. "Standard procedure for incident reports." She zooms in on details others dismiss. Serial numbers on medal backs. Authentic military markings. Proper ribbon configurations that costume jewelry never replicates correctly. Jimmy watches the flag ceremony with laser focus now. But he's not just remembering. He's demonstrating. His lips move, counting cadence that his body still knows perfectly. "Red tails at 6 o'clock, he says clearly, no longer whispering. "Bandits approaching bomber formation. This is Red Leader. All flights, engage, and protect the heavies." Tank's crew stops laughing completely. That's not rambling. That's precise military communication spoken with command authority. Maya recognizes authentic World War II fighter pilot terminology. But more importantly, she sees Jimmy taking complete control of the situation himself. "I flew 52 combat missions," Jimmy continues, his voice growing stronger with each word. "P-51 Mustang tail number 47296. Sweet Caroline painted on the nose. Never lost a bomber under my escort." He looks directly at Tank with steel in his eyes. "Authority earned through blood and sacrifice. You want to know what's fake? Tough guys who attack elderly veterans. Real men protect those who protected America." Tank actually steps backward. This isn't the helpless victim he targeted. This is someone dangerous. Someone with legitimacy he can't challenge. The security guard calls for backup despite witnessing Jimmy's complete transformation. "We have a situation at the memorial. Agitated individual claiming military service." But Maya has evidence now. Photographs, witness testimony, documentation of authentic military decorations being stolen by obvious criminals. Maya checks her phone. She's found something impossible. The preliminary database search on Jimmy's prescription labels returns classified military records. Active files requiring special clearance to access. Jimmy whispers a name that makes Tank step backward. "Hauptmann Hans Müller," Jimmy repeats with absolute certainty. "German ace pilot. I killed him over Berlin to save American lives. You think stealing medals from me makes you tough? You're nothing compared to Nazi pilots I faced." The flag ceremony music triggers something deep in Jimmy's eyes. Every note, every drumbeat unlocks more memories. His posture straightens further. The fog lifts completely. Command presence emerges that once led fighter squadrons against impossible odds. This isn't dementia. This is a warrior remembering his strength. Maya photographs everything. Evidence of authentic military bearing, precise responses to military stimuli, behavior inconsistent with simple dementia. Sarah notices the change too. "Dad, are you feeling better?" Jimmy looks at her with growing clarity. "Sarah Elizabeth," Born June 3, 1972. Graduated summa cum laude from Howard University. Became a nurse like your mother wanted. Perfect recall. Specific details. No confusion whatsoever. Tank realizes his mistake. This isn't random babbling. The old man is becoming coherent, dangerously coherent. "Let's get out of here," Tank tells his crew, "before the real cops show up." But Maya blocks their path. "I need to see those medals first, for my report." Tank clutches them tighter. "These? Just junk we found. Then you won't mind returning them to their rightful owner." The standoff builds. Jimmy stands straighter with each passing moment, authority returning to his bearing, command presence that once led squadrons into battle. His family watches in amazement. This isn't the confused man they brought here. This is someone else entirely, someone they never really knew. Backup security arrives with handcuffs. 2 guards move toward Jimmy with practiced efficiency. He doesn't resist. Military discipline runs too deep. "Hands behind your back, sir," the lead officer instructs. Jimmy complies automatically. 70 years of following lawful orders, even when those orders feel wrong. "This is a mistake," Maya protests. "He's the victim of assault and theft." The security supervisor dismisses her concerns. "We have multiple witnesses reporting disturbed behavior. Family requesting psychiatric evaluation. Standard procedure." Sarah holds temporary commitment papers, her signature still wet with tears. "It's for his own protection," she repeats. More to convince herself than anyone else. Tank and his crew melt into the crowd, the stolen medals safely hidden, their phones full of humiliation footage ready for social media. "Crazy old soldier boy thinks he's a hero," one posts immediately. The video starts gaining views. Jimmy's belongings get stuffed into evidence bags, personal effects treated like potential weapons. His worn leather wallet, government-issued glasses, prescription bottles from the VA. Maya discreetly photographs serial numbers before the bags seal shut, evidence she might need later. Something about this entire situation feels orchestrated, wrong. The ambulance arrives for psychiatric transport. EMTs prepare restraints despite Jimmy's cooperation. Protocol for potentially violent patients. "I served my country," Jimmy says quietly as they load him onto the stretcher. "Flew 52 combat missions. Never missed a formation." The EMT pats his shoulder condescendingly. "Sure you did, Grandpa. Lot of heroes around here today?" Jimmy's lucid moments become more frequent under stress. Adrenaline burns through confusion like sunlight through fog. Military training resurfaces from deep storage. But the system labels this improvement as agitation, dangerous escalation requiring medication. Sarah rides in the ambulance, watches her father struggle against leather restraints not from violence but from dignity. A man who once commanded respect, now treated like cargo. "Why didn't you ever tell us?" she asks softly. "About your service? About what you did?" Jimmy looks at her with crystal clarity. Because nobody wanted to hear it then. Black airmen weren't heroes in 1945, just problems to forget. The admission cuts deep, decades of silence about achievements that should have made him legendary. At the hospital, intake nurses process Jimmy like inventory. Agitated elderly black male, possible dementia, family-initiated commitment, likely long-term placement. Maya uploads the photos and gets an immediate system alert. Her phone buzzes with automated security warnings. The prescription labels she photographed contain classified information. Federal oversight required for any records access. That's impossible. Simple VA medications don't trigger national security protocols. Jimmy recites numbers that sound like coordinates. 39.7 north, 77.1 west, he says clearly. Andrews Army Airfield, home base of the Tuskegee Airmen. The intake nurse stops typing. "What did you say?" "March 15th, 1944. Mission over Berlin. Lost 2 planes. Saved a B-17 bomber group. 37 men went home to their families. Specific dates, precise coordinates, detailed mission information that sounds too accurate for delusion. Sarah finds a letter in his belongings that changes everything, hidden in his wallet, folded carefully for decades, yellowed paper with official letterhead, congressional seal barely visible through age. To Colonel James Washington, she reads silently, in recognition of extraordinary heroism and distinguished service. Her hands shake. This isn't dementia rambling. This is documented history. The letter continues. Details of combat missions, lives saved, awards earned, a hero's record hidden in plain sight for 70 years. Jimmy watches his daughter discover the truth. Your grandfather didn't want you growing up angry, he explains. Said it was better to forget. Move forward. Make new history instead of living in old pain. Sarah understands now. The silence wasn't shame. It was protection. It shielding his family from a world that wasn't ready to celebrate black heroism. The hospital psychologist begins preliminary evaluation, standard questions for dementia assessment. But Jimmy's answers reveal perfect recall of military protocols, precise knowledge of 1940s aircraft specifications, detailed memories of combat missions that match historical records. This doesn't fit typical dementia patterns. Confusion about present circumstances while maintaining crystal-clear long-term military memory. Maya contacts Vietnam Veterans Association representatives. Jimmy's name triggers immediate response from their national database. Is he safe? The coordinator asks urgently. Because if this is really James Washington, he's been missing from our radar for decades. The system has already failed him once. Now it's failing him again. Maya runs Jimmy's service ribbons through the military database. Her ranger station computer gives her limited access to veteran records. What she finds stops her cold. Classification level, restricted. Access requires special clearance. That's impossible for simple service medals, unless they represent something extraordinary. She tries a different approach. Searches historical archives for Tuskegee airmen named Washington. James Washington appears immediately. Multiple entries. Combat records that read like fiction. 52 missions. 3 confirmed kills against German aces. Congressional Gold Medal recipient. One of only 12 pilots to receive the highest civilian honor for military service. Maya's hands tremble over the keyboard. She's looking at the record of a living legend. Meanwhile, at the hospital, Dr. Jennifer Park conducts Jimmy's psychiatric evaluation. 20 years of experience with dementia patients. But Jimmy's responses don't fit standard patterns. Can you tell me what year it is? She asks. Jimmy looks confused briefly, then responds with startling precision. 2024. November 11th, Veterans Day, 83 degrees outside with southwest winds at 12 knots. Perfect awareness of current conditions, down to weather details only pilots notice automatically. Tell me about your military service, Dr. Park continues. Jimmy's entire demeanor changes. Fog lifts completely. He sits straighter. Voice carries command authority. Tuskegee Army Airfield, Alabama. 332nd Fighter Group. Red Tails, P-51 Mustang fighter aircraft. Primary mission, bomber escort over Nazi-occupied Europe. He recites serial numbers, squadron call signs, technical specifications that would take extensive research to fake. Dr. Park makes detailed notes. This level of military recall indicates preserved cognitive function, not typical dementia presentation. Sarah discovers more unopened VA letters in Jimmy's apartment, stacked neatly on his kitchen table. Official correspondence he never mentioned, annual benefits updates, medical appointment reminders, invitations to veteran ceremonies he apparently ignored for years, and something else. A recent letter marked, Urgent Response Required. Congressional Veterans Affairs Committee. Request for testimony regarding discrimination in military recognition programs. They want Jimmy to testify before Congress. about his experiences as a black airman denied proper recognition for decades. The government considers his voice important enough to seek official testimony, but his own family considered him incompetent enough for institutionalization. Tank and his crew visit a military collector downtown, need quick cash from their souvenir medals. "Where'd you get these?" the collector asks immediately. Tank shrugs. "Estate sale. Old guy didn't need them anymore." The collector examines the medals under magnification, studies ribbon configurations, checks serial numbers against authentication databases. His face pales. "Jesus Christ. Do you know what these are?" "Fake army stuff?" Tank's crew snickers. "These are authentic World War II decorations. Congressional Gold Medal, Purple Heart with 3 oak leaf clusters, Bronze Star with Valor device." He pulls up historical records on his computer. These belong to Colonel James Washington, Tuskegee Airman, one of the most decorated fighter pilots in American history. Tank's confidence evaporates. So what? Old guy's probably dead anyway. Not according to this. He's still alive, still receiving VA benefits, and stealing a veteran's medals is a federal crime with mandatory prison time. The crew exchanges nervous glances. What started as easy bullying has become felony theft of military decorations. Maya contacts the Veterans Association National Headquarters. Jimmy's name generates immediate attention from the president himself. "We've been trying to locate Colonel Washington for years," he explains urgently. "He's supposed to receive the Presidential Medal of Freedom next month, highest civilian honor possible." Maya's heart pounds. "He's currently detained for psychiatric evaluation. His family thinks he has dementia." Silence on the line. Then explosive anger. "Detained? James Washington has done more for this country than most generals. Where is he?" Maya provides hospital information. Within minutes, emergency verification procedures begin. Federal resources mobilized to protect one of America's forgotten heroes. At the hospital, a young nurse named Patricia notices Jimmy's scarred hands during routine examination, distinctive callus patterns on his palms and fingers. She's seen similar scarring before. Her grandfather was a B-24 pilot, same hand damage from gripping aircraft controls during combat maneuvers. "Were you really a fighter pilot?" she asks quietly during medication rounds. Jimmy nods. "P-51 Mustang, tail number 47296. Sweet Caroline painted on the nose. Named after my wife." Patricia checks historical databases on her phone. P-51 tail number 47296 appears in World War II aircraft registry. Confirmed Tuskegee Airmen assignment. Pilot, Colonel James Washington. The details match perfectly. This isn't delusion. This is living history. She alerts Dr. Park immediately. "I think we have a serious misdiagnosis situation." Dr. Park reviews Jimmy's medical records more carefully. His prescription history shows treatment for PTSD, not dementia. Combat-related stress disorder can mimic cognitive decline under extreme circumstances. The confusion episodes align with PTSD triggers: loud noises, confrontational situations, stress-induced flashbacks that look like disorientation, not mental deterioration. Psychological wounds from carrying heroic burdens in silence for decades. Maya receives emergency contact from FBI field office. Theft of Congressional Medal of Honor triggers automatic federal investigation. "We have video evidence of the crime," Maya reports. 3 suspects, I can identify them." Within hours, federal agents begin surveillance on Tank's known addresses. Military decoration theft carries severe penalties under federal law. Sarah reads through all her father's hidden correspondence. Decades of letters from bomber crews he saved. White airmen writing to thank the black pilot who brought them home alive. "Your father saved my life over Stuttgart," one letter reads. "I named my son James in his honor. We will never forget." Hundreds of similar letters. Testimonials to heroism her father never shared. a legacy of lives saved that he kept private to protect his family from a hostile world. The VA representative asks one question that stops Maya cold. Has anyone verified his current mental status? Because James Washington's medical records show treatment for PTSD, not dementia. If someone committed him under false pretenses, that's elder abuse. The pieces fall into place. Jimmy's episodes aren't cognitive decline. They're stress responses from untreated combat trauma, triggered by confrontation and disrespect. The very bullying that started this crisis was psychological torture for a man already carrying invisible wounds from defending America. Maya realizes they've all been complicit in abusing a war hero. The system designed to protect veterans has failed him completely. Sarah opens a letter dated 50 years ago, written by the widow of a bomber pilot Jimmy saved. Her husband died in Korea 5 years after Jimmy brought him home from Germany. He lived to see our children grow up because of your father's courage. Please tell Colonel Washington that Tommy's family will never forget. He gave us 5 precious years we wouldn't have had. The moral weight hits Sarah like physical force. Her father didn't just serve. He saved families, created futures, preserved love stories that spanned generations, and she almost had him locked away as incompetent. The VA sends an emergency verification team to the hospital. Federal protocols activate automatically when a Congressional Gold Medal recipient faces potential mistreatment. Maya coordinates with Vietnam Veterans Association leadership. Phone calls escalate through military channels. Word spreads rapidly through veteran networks nationwide. James Washington is alive, and he needs protection. The military collector contacts FBI about federal theft charges. Tank's crew faces mandatory prison sentences for stealing military decorations. No plea bargains allowed under federal statutes. Sarah reads another letter from bomber crews Jimmy saved. This one different, more recent. Dear Colonel Washington, it begins. My grandfather spoke of you until his dying day. Said a red-tailed angel saved his bomber over Munich. Our family owes you everything. The letter includes photographs. 3 generations of a white family Jimmy preserved through one moment of aerial combat. Children who exist because he risked everything to bring their grandfather home. Jimmy's doctor reviews medical records with fresh perspective, notes careful attention to medication timing, precise responses to military protocol, behavior patterns consistent with trained leadership, not cognitive decline. The dementia diagnosis crumbles under scrutiny. What they interpreted as confusion was actually dissociation triggered by civilian disrespect after decades of military honor. Tank realizes he's being investigated for theft of federal military decorations. Unmarked vehicles appear outside his apartment building. Federal agents conducting surveillance. His crew panics. What seemed like harmless bullying has escalated to federal charges carrying decades in prison. We need to return those medals, one suggests frantically. Too late. FBI has video evidence of the theft. Witness testimony from Maya. Federal prosecutors don't negotiate on military honor crimes. Jimmy's condition stabilizes under proper medical care. Respectful treatment reduces stress triggers. His natural clarity returns gradually. Dr. Park adjusts his treatment plan. PTSD management instead of dementia, care. Therapy focused on combat trauma rather than cognitive decline. The improvement is remarkable. When treated with dignity appropriate to his service record, Jimmy's mental acuity shines clearly. Maya receives commendation from Park Service leadership. Her investigation prevented massive injustice against a decorated veteran. Model procedure for elder advocate programs. Federal verification team arrives with Jimmy's complete military file. Classified records requiring special handling. His service record reads like American military legend. The hospital receives a call from Washington, D.C. Congressional Veterans Affairs Committee Chairman personally. Wants to ensure Colonel Washington receives proper care while awaiting federal recognition ceremony. Jimmy speaks his first clear sentence in months. "I want to go home," he tells Sarah with complete lucidity. "I want to see my medals again. And I want to tell you about your mother, how we met at Tuskegee, how proud she'd be of the nurse you became." Perfect recall, emotional connection, cognitive function fully intact when environmental stressors are removed. Tank sees unmarked federal vehicles outside his building. FBI surveillance teams don't hide their presence. The message is clear. Federal law enforcement knows exactly who stole Congressional Medal of Honor from decorated veteran. His criminal exposure escalates beyond simple theft. Elder abuse, hate crime enhancements, federal charges that guarantee prison time measured in decades, not years. The system that failed Jimmy Washington now mobilizes completely in his defense. Military honor demands nothing less than absolute protection for those who served with extraordinary valor. Sarah realizes her father isn't disappearing into dementia. He's been drowning in a society that forgot how to honor its heroes. But remembering is possible. Recognition still matters. And justice, however delayed, still has power to heal both victim and community. VA representatives arrive with Jimmy's complete service record. The files require armed escort, classified military documents that reveal the full scope of his heroism. Colonel James Washington, Tuskegee Airman, 52 combat missions over Nazi Europe, 3 confirmed kills against German ace pilots, 0 bomber losses under his escort. The numbers tell only part of the story. Jimmy flew the most dangerous missions, protected bombers when other escort fighters turned back due to fuel limitations, extended his range beyond safety margins to ensure complete mission success. Sarah reads testimonial after testimonial. White bomber crews writing to thank the black pilot who brought them home alive. Letters her father never shared. "He stayed with us when everyone else left," one report states. "Engaged superior enemy forces alone to protect our formation. Acts of valor beyond normal duty requirements." The medical team discovers Jimmy's confusion episodes actually represent PTSD flashbacks triggered by confrontational situations. Not dementia. Combat trauma from carrying heroic burdens in silence for decades. Dr. Park feels professionally embarrassed. "I should have recognized military bearing despite apparent symptoms. His responses were too precise for cognitive decline." When treated with respect appropriate to his service record, Jimmy's mental clarity returns rapidly. The fog lifts completely. Sharp intelligence emerges undimmed by age. Maya presents complete evidence of the attack and theft to federal investigators. Video footage, witness testimony, documented theft of Congressional Medal of Honor and supporting decorations. FBI agents review this case with prosecutorial certainty. Military decoration theft carries mandatory federal sentences. No judicial discretion allowed. "These men attacked a living American legend," the lead agent states. "Federal law requires maximum prosecution." Jimmy looks at his daughter with complete lucidity now. Environmental stressors removed. Respectful medical care provided. His natural cognitive function shines clearly. "Sarah Elizabeth," he says warmly. "Born June 3, 1972, 6 pounds, 4 ounces. Your mother held you while I read congratulations telegrams from my squadron." Perfect recall. Emotional connection. Detailed memories spanning decades. No confusion whatsoever. Sarah weeps with relief and guilt. "Dad, why didn't you ever tell us? About your service? About what you accomplished?" Jimmy's expression grows serious. "Because in 1945, black heroes weren't welcome. We saved white lives, then came home to segregation and silence. Your mother thought it was better to build new dreams than fight old battles." The truth hits like physical force. Her father sacrificed recognition to protect his family from a hostile society, chose silence over conflict, put their future ahead of his legacy. "You were protecting us," Sarah realizes. "Always," Jimmy confirms. "Even when protection meant pretending to be less than I was." Federal agents receive warrants to arrest Tank and accomplices. Military decoration theft, elder abuse, hate crime enhancements under federal statutes. The charges guarantee decades in federal prison. No parole eligibility. Justice system reserves harshest penalties for crimes against military honor. Jimmy looks at his daughter and speaks her childhood nickname. "Little Nightingale," he says softly. "You became the healer I always knew you'd be. Your mother would be so proud." Sarah dissolves completely. That nickname. He hasn't used it in 20 years. Proof that her father's mind remains sharp despite everything they put him through. The local news receives an anonymous tip about the story. Within hours, word spreads through media channels. Decorated Tuskegee Airman attacked and humiliated. Congressional Medal of Honor recipient nearly institutionalized by family unaware of his heroic service. The story resonates nationally. Forgotten heroes walking among us unrecognized. Elder veterans carrying invisible wounds from decades of underappreciation. Federal agents arrest Tank's crew simultaneously. Coordinated operation across the city. Military precision applied to protecting military honor. Tank faces additional charges. Video evidence shows him specifically targeting Jimmy's military bearing for mockery. Hate crime enhancements guaranteed under federal sentencing guidelines. Dr. Park officially revises Jimmy's diagnosis. Combat-related PTSD, not dementia. Treatable condition requiring respectful therapeutic approach rather than institutional containment. The improvement in Jimmy's condition vindicates this assessment completely. Proper care produces remarkable cognitive recovery. Sarah cancels all commitment proceedings. Her father doesn't need institutional placement. He needs recognition. Respect. Acknowledgement of sacrifices made for ungrateful nation. Maya receives official commendation from Veterans Affairs. Her investigation prevented catastrophic injustice against decorated war hero, model procedure for veteran advocacy programs nationwide. Jimmy sits up straighter with each revelation. Authority returns to his bearing. Command presence that once led fighter squadrons emerges from decades of suppression. This isn't a confused elderly man. This is Colonel James Washington, American hero who saved lives, served with valor, and carried his burdens with quiet dignity for 80 years. The system that failed him mobilizes completely for protection now. Justice delayed, but not denied. Federal verification complete. Military records authenticated. Hero status confirmed beyond any doubt. Time for recognition. Time for honor. Time for America to remember what it forgot. Jimmy is released to family custody with full military honors escort. 2 uniformed Marines accompany him from the hospital. Proper respect for Congressional Medal of Honor recipient. Sarah apologizes tearfully for not believing in him. "I'm so sorry, Dad. I should have known. Should have listened." Jimmy takes her hand gently. "You were protecting what you thought was best for me. That's what family does, I understand." The forgiveness comes easily. Military discipline includes mercy for those acting from love, even when misguided. Jimmy's mental clarity returns significantly when treated with dignity appropriate to his service record. Respectful environment reduces stress triggers dramatically. His natural intelligence emerges undimmed. Maya receives commendation from Park Service leadership. Her investigation prevented massive injustice against decorated veteran. National model for elder advocacy programs. Tank and his crew sit in federal holding cells. Charges filed under maximum penalties. Military decoration theft. Elder abuse. Hate crime enhancements guaranteed under federal statutes. No bail allowed for federal military honor crimes. They'll await trial in custody while facing decades in prison. Jimmy rides home in Sarah's car, watches familiar neighborhoods pass outside windows. Freedom feels different when earned through recognition rather than granted through pity. "I want to go back to the memorial," he tells Sarah. "There's something I need to do there." Sarah nods without question. Whatever he needs, however long it takes. Her father has earned the right to choose his own path. The mayor's office calls with an unexpected invitation. Emergency City Council meeting. Public recognition ceremony for Colonel Washington. Full military honors presentation in front of community that witnessed his humiliation. Jimmy considers this carefully. Public attention after decades of intentional obscurity. Recognition he's avoided for valid reasons. Will it help other veterans? He asks. Yes, sir. Other forgotten heroes might finally get the respect they deserve. Decision made. Personal comfort matters less than collective benefit. Still thinking like the squadron leader who protected formations at personal risk. A letter arrives from the White House. Presidential recognition ceremony. Medal of Freedom presentation postponed specifically to include proper acknowledgement of recent injustices suffered. The president wants to honor not just Jimmy's wartime service, but his dignity under civilian persecution. Jimmy looks at the invitation with quiet satisfaction. America remembers its heroes eventually. Sometimes justice requires patience, but it does arrive. Sarah watches her father's transformation with amazement. This isn't decline reversed. This is strength that was always there, finally allowed to surface. The evidence arrives in waves, each revelation more stunning than the last. Layer 1. Physical evidence. Jimmy's hidden medals confirmed authentic through federal verification. Congressional Gold Medal, highest civilian honor for military service. Only 300 ever awarded in American history. Purple Heart with 3 oak leaf clusters. Wounded 4 separate times in aerial combat. Refused medical evacuation to continue protecting bomber formations. Bronze Star with Valor device. Distinguished Flying Cross. Air Medal with multiple clusters. Each decoration representing specific acts of heroism documented in classified mission reports. The medals tank dismissed as costume jewelry represent the highest possible recognition for military valor, worth more than money. Worth more than life to the men who earned them. Layer 2. Audio and digital evidence. Declassified mission recordings from March 1944. Jimmy's voice coordinating bomber escort over Berlin. 23 years old. Squadron leader responsible for 73 aircrew lives. Red leader to all flights. Maintain formation. Bandits at 12 o'clock high. Engage and protect the heavies. His voice carries calm authority under extreme pressure. Battle-tested leadership that saved American lives through split-second tactical decisions. Mission reports detail his actions. Engaged superior enemy forces alone when other escorts withdrew due to fuel limitations. Shot down 2 German ace pilots in single engagement. Escorted damaged bombers safely home despite personal aircraft damage. Federal databases reveal 73 bomber crew members returned alive because of Jimmy's protection. White airmen who owed their lives to black pilot they never thanked publicly. Layer 3. Layer. Historical records and testimonials. Nazi documents captured after the war. German ace pilot's diary mentioning deadly Negro pilot in red-tailed P-51. Enemy recognition of Jimmy's lethal effectiveness. American colored pilot shoots with extraordinary precision, the German entry reads. Attacks with no regard for personal safety. Most dangerous adversary encountered. White bomber crews' testimonial letters hidden for decades. Heartfelt gratitude they couldn't express publicly in segregated America. Colonel Washington saved my entire crew over Munich, one letter states. I named my son James in his honor. My family exists because of his courage. Hundreds of similar testimonials. Lives saved. Families preserved. Futures created through one man's extraordinary valor. But the most stunning revelation comes from recent documents. Jimmy didn't retire from service in 1945. He continued flying combat missions in Korea, then trained pilots in Vietnam era. 30-year military career spanning 3 wars. His final assignment? Pentagon Liaison for Integration of Military Aviation. He helped design policies that opened fighter pilot training to all races, changed military culture from the inside. The public ceremony at Veterans Memorial draws thousands. Full military honors with honor guard from all service branches. Flag-draped podium, where Jimmy was humiliated, now becomes platform for his recognition. Mayor Williams presents Key to the City. Colonel Washington represents the best of American heroism. Our community is honored by his presence. Jimmy approaches the podium in full dress uniform borrowed from the VA. 82 years old, but standing ramrod straight. Command presence undimmed by age or recent trauma. "Ladies and gentlemen," he begins, voice carrying clearly across the crowd, "I want to thank everyone who stood up for truth when it mattered most." He looks directly at Maya, especially Ranger Thompson, who refused to accept injustice when she witnessed it. Maya wipes away tears from the front row. Her investigation saved more than one man's dignity. It preserved American honor itself. Jimmy continues his speech with growing strength. "I flew 52 combat missions, not for recognition, but for the families who needed their sons and fathers to come home alive. That mission never ends." The crowd responds with thunderous applause. Children who witnessed his humiliation now see him properly honored. Lesson in redemption they'll carry forever. Tank and his accomplices receive federal sentences. 10 years minimum for military decoration theft. Additional time for elder abuse and hate crime enhancements. Federal judges show no mercy for crimes against military honor. "You attacked a living American legend," the judge states during sentencing. "Federal law requires maximum punishment for such desecration." Maya receives promotion to head park ranger. Establishes Elder Veteran Protection Program as model for national implementation. Jimmy's case becomes template for preventing similar injustices. Sarah creates foundation for misdiagnosed veteran PTSD treatment. Uses her father's experience to help other families recognize combat trauma disguised as cognitive decline. "Too many heroes suffer in silence," she explains to donors. "We need to listen better, honor their service, provide care worthy of their sacrifice." Jimmy delivers his most powerful moment at the ceremony's conclusion, speaks directly to young people in attendance. Military service means protecting those who cannot protect themselves. That duty doesn't end when you take off the uniform. Every day presents opportunities to serve with honor. He pauses, looking across faces in the crowd. Many people who witnessed his humiliation now seeing him properly recognized. "Judge people by their character, not their appearance. Heroes walk among us every day. They deserve respect regardless of age, race, or circumstance." The memorial park is renamed Colonel James Washington Veterans Memorial. Permanent recognition ensuring his story inspires future generations. A bronze plaque displays his photograph in P-51 cockpit alongside his service record. American Hero, Tuskegee Airman, Lives Saved, 73, Nation Served, with honor. Jimmy stands before his memorial with quiet satisfaction. Recognition arrived late but complete. Justice delayed but not denied. The crowd begins to disperse, but many approach Jimmy personally. Bomber crew descendants wanting to thank him. Young veterans seeking inspiration. Children learning what real heroism looks like. Each conversation reinforces the ceremony's deeper purpose. This isn't just about one man's delayed recognition. It's about America remembering how to honor its protectors. Jimmy's transformation from humiliated elder to celebrated hero demonstrates society's capacity for moral correction. When good people refuse to accept injustice, redemption becomes possible. The evidence was always there. Military records, heroic actions, lives saved through extraordinary valor. Society simply chose not to look. Maya's investigation proved that truth has power when combined with courage. One park ranger's refusal to accept obvious injustice changed everything. Sarah's foundation ensures Jimmy's experience helps other veteran families. recognition that combat trauma requires understanding, not institutionalization. The federal prosecutions send clear message. America protects those who protected America. Military honor demands nothing less than complete justice. Jimmy walks slowly through the crowd, accepting gratitude from people who finally understand what they nearly lost. A living legend who almost disappeared into institutional anonymity. But heroes don't disappear quietly. Truth has weight. Justice has momentum. And American values, when properly applied, still have power to correct even the gravest injustices. The memorial ceremony concludes with military honor guard folding flag that flew over Jimmy's ceremony. Presented to him with full military courtesy he's always deserved. Colonel James Washington, Congressional Gold Medal recipient, Tuskegee Airman. American hero whose story reminds everyone that greatness often walks among us unrecognized. Until someone cares enough to look. Until someone refuses to accept obvious injustice. Until someone remembers that heroes deserve honor regardless of age, race, or circumstance. Jimmy's story spreads nationwide within hours. Social media transforms his recognition ceremony into viral inspiration. Had heroes among us. Trending globally with millions sharing similar stories of unrecognized veterans. Congressional hearing on veteran health care and dignity protection scheduled within weeks. Jimmy invited to testify about systemic failures that nearly destroyed him, his voice carrying weight of lived experience and moral authority. The memorial park officially renamed Colonel James Washington Veterans Memorial in permanent recognition. Bronze statue commissioned showing him in P-51 cockpit. Inscription reads, American Hero, Lives Saved 73, Service with Honor. Jimmy's improved health allows him to speak at schools nationwide. Children who witnessed his humiliation now see him properly honored. Lessons in character recognition they'll carry forever. Real heroes don't wear capes, he tells elementary students. They wear uniforms, work ordinary jobs, live quietly among us, judge people by their actions, not appearances. Maya's investigation methods become national model for veteran advocacy. Training programs established in all 50 states. Elder protection protocols named Washington Standards in Jimmy's honor. Federal legislation passes unanimously. Veterans Dignity Protection Act, establishing criminal penalties for institutional elder abuse. Jimmy's case cited as primary justification for enhanced legal protections. Tank's gang completely disbanded. Remaining members enter court-ordered rehabilitation programs. Federal prison sentences averaging 15 years. No possibility of early release for military honor crimes. The military collector who authenticated Jimmy's medals establishes scholarship fund for Tuskegee Airmen descendants. These heroes changed America, he explains. Their families deserve educational opportunities their sacrifice created. Sarah dedicates her career to veteran family support services. Opens clinics specializing in combat trauma misdiagnosed as dementia. Jimmy's experience guides treatment protocols for thousands of veteran families. My father taught me that healing requires recognition, she tells medical conferences. We can't treat what we refuse to acknowledge. Jimmy reconnects with surviving bomber crew members he saved. Emotional reunions after 80 years of separation. White families expressing gratitude they couldn't voice publicly during segregation era. Your father brought my grandfather home, one descendant tells Sarah. 3 generations of our family exist because of his courage. We finally get to say thank you. These connections multiply across the country. Bomber crew families tracking down their Tuskegee Airmen protectors. Recognition ceremonies in dozens of cities. America remembering heroes it forgot. The Presidential Medal of Freedom ceremony takes place at White House with full military honors. Jimmy receives highest civilian recognition possible while standing alongside other national heroes. Colonel Washington represents the best of American service, the president states. his courage in combat matched only by his dignity under persecution. Our nation honors his complete example. Jimmy's acceptance speech becomes defining moment of the ceremony. I didn't serve for recognition. I served because my country needed protection. That duty continues every day for all of us. He looks directly into cameras broadcasting nationwide. Heroes walk among us constantly, elderly neighbors who served with valor, workers who protect communities, people who choose service over self-interest. The message resonates globally. International media coverage highlighting America's capacity for moral correction. Jimmy's story demonstrates democratic values actually working when citizens demand justice. Veteran suicide rates decrease measurably following Jimmy's story. Recognition that combat trauma requires understanding, not shame. Treatment resources expand dramatically as public awareness grows. The Vietnam Veterans Association establishes annual James Washington Award for civilian advocates protecting veteran dignity. Maya receives the first award for investigation that prevented catastrophic injustice. Jimmy's medical team publishes research on PTSD misdiagnosis. His case becomes medical school curriculum for recognizing combat trauma in elderly populations. Thousands of veterans receive proper treatment based on lessons learned. The memorial park becomes pilgrimage site for military families. Interactive exhibits telling Jimmy's complete story. Children learning that heroism comes in all colors, ages, and circumstances. Educational programs reach millions annually. Jimmy's experience teaching critical lessons about judgment, justice, and recognition. Character education grounded in real heroism rather than fictional examples. Federal Bureau of Investigation adds military decoration theft to highest priority crimes. Jimmy's case establishing precedent for maximum prosecution. Zero tolerance for dishonoring veteran service. The hate crime aspects of Jimmy's attack inspire enhanced legislation. Elder abuse combined with racial targeting receiving mandatory federal sentences. Protection for society's most vulnerable heroes. Jimmy establishes foundation ensuring no veteran dies unrecognized. Database connecting families with service records. Recognition ceremonies for forgotten heroes nationwide. Every veteran deserves honor, Jimmy explains to foundation donors. Military service creates debt. Society must repay with respect, regardless of skin color or social status. Tank's federal prison sentence includes mandatory veteran appreciation education. Understanding what he attacked. Learning cost of his ignorance and cruelty. Rehabilitation through recognition of military sacrifice. The elementary school children who witnessed Jimmy's humiliation invite him back for recognition assembly. Full circle moment where victim becomes inspiration. We learned not to judge people by how they look, one child explains. Heroes can be anybody, even grandfathers who seem confused. Jimmy's story becomes required curriculum in military academies, future officers learning importance of protecting veteran dignity throughout civilian life. Service obligations extending beyond active duty. His legacy multiplies through every life touched. Recognition, creating recognition. Justice, inspiring justice. American values properly applied, creating positive change. Years later, Jimmy remains active in veteran advocacy. 85 years old, but still fighting for forgotten heroes. Military bearing intact. Mission continuing. The Memorial Park hosts annual Veterans Recognition Day. Jimmy speaks to crowds about service, sacrifice, and society's obligation to remember. His voice carrying authority earned through both combat and civilian persecution. Real patriotism means protecting those who protected America, he concludes each speech. Heroes deserve honor. Veterans deserve respect. Justice delayed is not justice denied if good people refuse to accept obvious wrongs. The applause continues long after he leaves the podium. Children, families, and fellow veterans understanding they witnessed greatness. Not just military heroism, but moral courage spanning decades. Colonel James Washington, Congressional Gold Medal recipient. American hero whose complete story reminds everyone that greatness walks among us daily, waiting for recognition from people wise enough to look beyond appearances and see character instead. Justice served, honor restored, legacy secured for generations who will learn that heroes come in all forms, deserve respect regardless of age or circumstance, and that America's greatest strength lies in its capacity to correct injustices when good people demand better. The truth was always there. Someone just needed to care enough to find it. If you found this story moving, consider supporting veteran advocacy organizations in your community. Real heroes like Colonel Washington live among us every day, and they deserve our recognition and respect. Learn more about the Tuskegee Airmen and their extraordinary service at Tuskegee Airmen National Historic Site. Visit your local Veterans Affairs office to volunteer with elder veteran programs. Honor those who served by ensuring their stories are never forgotten. Remember, heroes walk among us. They deserve our respect regardless of age, race, or circumstance. When you see injustice, be the person who refuses to look away.